For those of you of a certain age, I want you to look back at this cover. It is rather historic. Ford, the city, dropped dead when the city was in great arrears, making payments. The government wouldn't help, and Gerald Ford said, I'm not going to help you. It's a slippery slope. He ended up losing New York State to Jimmy Carter that November by all of 2 points. Tell me the last time you can remember a Republican coming that close. But now let's go to Ted Cruz and Donald Trump fighting for New York State. And is Ted Cruz's comments regarding New York values about to be his Ford drop dead moment? Let's ask presidential historian Burt Folsom. Burt, what do you think?
Well, I think you have a point there. One thing to keep in mind is that President Ford did not want to bail out New York City.
Right.
Because that bailout would have been at the taxpayer's expense. Had he done that, or had he been willing to do that, it would have cost him in the 1976 primaries, which came just a few months later. President Reagan would have done much better in the primary and might have won the nomination on the first ballot.
You know, but New York plays an interesting role, right? I mean, when Jimmy Carter was just rip-roaring along, a lot of people thought that party favorite like Henry Scoop Jackson might be able to put the kibosh on him, or others. They weren't able to, and then that sealed the deal, didn't it? I mean, Scoop Jackson, I believe, won New York for the Democrats, but Jimmy Carter came and did convincingly well enough upstate that Scoop was all but history, right?
Right. And, of course, Jimmy Carter ended up pursuing the same program that President Ford did. So New York City ended up with the same deal that Ford gave them, which was loans to get them through the crisis. And that then took care of the problem.
Yeah, I never thought of that, but you're right about that. Ironically, the one person they hated, the other guy did the same thing. We also look at New York as being a chance for renegade candidates to sort of prove their stuff, whether you're thinking about Jerry Brown, we were thinking of the challenges that Bill Clinton was facing. So it can be a do-or-die moment, but the rap against New York is it always occurs so late in the campaign season it doesn't matter. Now for both parties it matters, huh?
Well, it does, and California is even later, but when California does matter, as it did, for example, in 1964, when Barry Goldwater defeated Nelson Rockefeller, the governor of New York, in that state, well, in that case, it made a huge difference, and it allowed Goldwater to win the nomination. So it's true that New York and California both come late, but because they're such big states, they can have a decisive impact on the nomination process.
You've heard very quickly about Donald Trump, very sore, speaking about New Yorkers, about the awarding of these delegates in Colorado and elsewhere where the Cruz folks are trying to pick off even committed Trump delegates, all perfectly legal, I'm told. But what if we get to a convention? Wouldn't it be a pip if he's 34 delegates shy and they're all those Colorado delegates?
Right. I think that Trump decided that his time was better spent in New York and Pennsylvania.
Right.
But in any case, that could happen. Now, Ford, when he ran in 1976, was a few delegates short, and he was able to pick them up at the convention. American Samoa and other delegations have a lot of uncommitted members, and so Trump would still have several delegations to sort through to try to get 30 or 40 delegates if he comes short by that number.
Burt, do not get me started on American Samoa, because we're going to start a fight here, young man. Burt Folsom, presidential historian extraordinaire, thank you very, very much. Good view of history.
Thank you, Neil.